So next speaker is they always say we have a distinguished speaker with us. Well, we really have a distinguished speaker. He's not only a distinguished speaker, he's a distinguished fellow. So the last time he was on stage, he was getting an award. I think that was Tuesday night. But now he's going to talk about the value of disaggregation and automation, broadband forum update.
Good afternoon. I am the last. I try to be short in order to give you free up time. We have seen a lot of good presentation today about automation, disaggregation, and so on. And then this presentation is going to explain what Broadband Forum is doing to help this ecosystem to grow and to help both operators and vendors to create their own solution. We will see at the beginning which are the SDN work area, where the major of the activity that I will mention will be done. We will see all the projects in a short hints in order to know what we are doing. Then we will have two main updates about two main projects. The CloudCo project related to disaggregation and also cloudification of the network. And then also some hints about automated intelligent management project. That is probably one of the best projects that we have at the moment that is not only to be applied in a CloudCo environment, but surely CloudCo environment can enable to facilitate the integration of this type of solution. And then we will see at the end the takeaways. Introduction. This is more or less what you can see. What are the responsibilities of the SDN-NFV architecture? It is the interfaces and all the components, the orchestrator, the management control, the cloudification of the network, and also the, let me say, the disaggregation of the access node. Other parts are responsibility of other groups inside Broadband Forum. Which are some projects that we have at the moment in SDN-NFV? We have the virtual MCI in order to define the virtualized OMCI, to move this function into the cloud and to define all the relative, let me say, relevant interfaces that needs to be for deploying. Then we have the fixed network sharing that specify the architecture and all the interfaces. At the moment, there are still gaps, sincerely speaking. But in order to define an open network and based on slicing and sharing. Smart SD-WAN, this is a project that has already just started in order to create the architecture to implement more intelligent SD-WAN solutions that will, in order to aggregate and to manage traffic for multiple SDN instances. Then we have the monitor compute networking in order to create a new architecture for implementing metro compute networking in, let me say, in an edge environment and to define all the relevant interfaces and solutions. As I said, we are going to define more, to give more hints about CloudCo, that define a new architecture for the, let me say, a new environment based on Cloud Central Office that utilize SDN, Kubernetes, cloud technologies in order to integrate the networks, the network functions into a telco network. Obviously, that this will deliver a lot of advantages that we will see later. Then, on top of that, we will see some hints related to automated intelligent management that can be deployed over existing SDN-NFV infrastructure, and in particular, also on CloudCo environment. This will define all the workflow, all the, let me say, all the solution, all the interfaces, the architecture that will help you to integrate any artificial intelligence algorithm that operators want to deploy. Let's move to the CloudCo. The first question that we have to answer is why CloudCo? What are the reasons an operator needs to deploy CloudCo? There are a lot of advantages. First of all, scalability. If you move part of the software into the cloud, you can scale better. And you can deploy only software that are needed with respect to the number of customers that you have. Flexibility, because you are flexible to define your function, whatever you like, in the central office or in a cloud environment more centralized, according to performances that you want to have. 7, if you have flexibility, you can deploy your solution in a way that for you has a lower cost, faster time to market. If you don't have to, let me say, rely on others to deploy new services, but you can create a new app for these services, you can be faster. You don't need discussion, testing that require months and months and months. If you deploy part of the function into the cloud, you can improve your reliability and resiliences because you can use typical protection mechanism that you can have on cloud, and then you can recover in a fast way all the faults that you can have in your network. You can enhance your service quality. You can be future-proof because at the end, any new thing that you are thinking about, don't rely anymore, as I said before, on legacy equipment, but you need to create new software. And then last but not the least, we will see later on, we will have a simplified management and orchestration. Which are the two main directions that we are working on in order to facilitate and to enable all these advantages? Architecture interfaces and disaggregation. Let's move to architecture interfaces. This is really important to have a defined architecture. Let me go back just a moment. You can have a simplified architecture. You have all the access node, your compute node, all your network nodes, unified controller for all this area, an orchestrator that can interface to the next generation OSS. But the interfaces is really important. Today, what you have is that any customer, you can have multiple OLT vendors. Each OLT has its own element manager. And then you need to integrate each of them into your OSS with this time-consuming cost and so on. With the new architecture, you have all your OLTs, can be legacy one or also the new one disaggregated, to be managed by a single SDN controller by using standard interfaces defined by TMForum. That is, you can see the list here in TR 413. And then to integrate this in the controller and to have a standard interface as well between the OSS, BSS to the SDN controller via TR 411. That needs to be updated. Sincerely speaking, is not complete on this area. We need to do further work. So we are moving from legacy deployment with legacy proprietary interfaces to standard-based SDN deployment. Disaggregation. Disaggregation is really important because you can think by moving from legacy to a new solution where you use very simple hardware and you can put on top all the software that you might need. You can have vendor app on top that will help you to develop the network, to deploy the network. Operator develop applications that for your services, service application, network application, for example, for monitoring and so on. But any third-party application that any company can develop and that you can easily put in your network without having to ask your vendor to do it. So at the end, what can be a possible value of this solution? I think that the question was before, open network. It will simplify also all say you can have advances all say services with this type of solution because with this approach, you can have any OLT that you like and disaggregated or legacy. You have the SDN controller, and with the standard forum APIs, you can integrate any operator that you like in an easy way, in a simple way. Standard forum, I'm mentioning standard TMForum because TMForum is working on defining a single interface for all operators to interwork with for all sales services. And then you can have also the OSS for the infrastructure provider that needs to manage all the entire network. Then you can have your app that can be infrastructure app, can be each operator app based on the cloud You can have infrastructure function, network function, monitoring function that can be given by the infrastructure provider towards each operator. And then you can have its own operation function from each operator. That's just an idea, that possible application. Okay, we have seen what is CloudCo, but CloudCo is also an enabler, as I said before, of automation. In fact, but the first question that we have to answer, why we need automation? Automation is needed in a lot of parts. Investment, where we need to invest. But then when we invest, we need to monitor the network that we did based on QoS, bandwidth, resiliencies, capacity, and so on. We need to monitor as well the application outcome. So we can have with page loaded time, speed test, MOS for video, for voice, and so on. Then, from then we can derive the network parameter score. That this has a really big impact on the churn rate. So what the investor will do, the performances of the network that we have will have an impact on the quality of the network that we have. From this, we can have different inputs to our management. First of all, if we have problem, we can have a lot of support calls and a lot of churn. If we have good, we can try to find a way to improve our ARPU by selling other services. All these things, if you are done manually, is impossible. So all these parts need to have specific software, specific algorithms in order to manage. What are the main drivers for automation is obviously service differentiation. If you can program and to try to analyze what customer needs, you can try to target your services to the customer. You can have an invisible network. By means of closed loop paradigm, you can try to reduce as much as possible the intervention of humans in the network quality and to automate some part of the processes. You can have predictive maintenance in order to avoid out of services. You can increase, obviously, the customer experiences, and this is good for our churn. You can analyze this according to multiple KPIs that probably manually you can't do. All these things will put to you in a direction to have a TCO reduction. Just some example from what you can find from others' presentation. You see that when you can have a lot of savings only in the simple routing task that you have for the management of your network. That move to a 30% of reducing time that you can have. There are different percentage according to the different tasks. For example, you can have 60% on diagnostic and troubleshooting, 28%, for example, for proactive action, 9% of zero-touch provisioning, 3% from other minor tasks, for example, software upgrades and all this stuff. Are we already there? No, we are not. Sincerely speaking, we are not. But the important is that we are moving into such a direction. We started already years ago, probably before 2020, to move from labor intensive with some, let me say, simple scripts that help human intervention to years later to have more, let me say, open data model and programmable APIs that are already on the field. And then you move from labor intensive to expert mainly driven human intervention. Then if you increase even more and you have complete closed loop automation, you move the human intervention mainly on the business goal, on the service part. And you can make your network invisible. Finally, you can reach the end goal that probably will be some years from now, but we are moving rapidly there, is to have everything completely self-organizing with artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms, data-driven, so you need a lot of data to train your algorithms, and human will intervene only managed by artificial intelligence, or for example, open loop application, because, for example, if you need, there is a fault on a card, no software can change the card. You need the human intervene. But at least you can limit the intervention very at minimum. Okay. On this aspect, what Broadband Forum is doing is to define the architecture that you can find in TR-436. All the architecture and all the subsystems. You will have the artificial intelligence pipeline. You can see here. Then you have the management subsystem where you can have also the orchestration, and that is the orchestration of the network. And then you have also the IAM orchestration that will help you to manage each domain, or by using an end-to-end IAM orchestration, the entire network. Then you have the sandbox, that where you have your tools. You have, for example, digital twins for replicating your network and facilitating the analysis of your IAM tools, offline components, application, and so on. And then you have the knowledge base, that is where you can store all your data. The data can be direct data from the network element, but can be also preprocessed data, in order to simplify the reading from other part of the networks. Then we have also specified the TR-486 on interfaces. We try to use what is already exist, and then in order to define, we will define only new APIs when is really needed. Here you will see how we have defined the closed loop automation. This is done by other standard body, ETSI, ITUT, and so on. You can have directly inside the network element. You can have the first level of closed loop based on the SDN controller. On the orchestrator level, that you will have other domains integrated, and then the customer level. All of them need specific interface to be defined. Finally, takeaways. So we are working in SDN-NFV to specify the architectural interfaces for the cloud-based solution, fixed access solution. As I said, we have two main directions in order to define this, the cloudification. Architecture and interfaces. The architecture as a reference, interfaces to have an open access network, and then disaggregation to simplify, to have a more flexible network in the future for operators. As I said, cloudification can also enable the deployment of other tools. One of them is surely the automated intelligent management. It means to deploy artificial intelligence, machine learning tools in your network. We defined the architecture, and in order to arrive to a goal to have a self-organizing network. What we have at the moment is TR-436 architectural framework and TR-486 that has been recently published for interfaces. What are the main takeaway from these things? Obviously, that operators, they can reach the TCO reduction. You can have a better service agility and a better time to market. You can end to arrive to a complete network automation and a lower maintenance network. To have let me say, an environment that will have more vendors. And then you can easily integrate any other vendor in your network in an easy way. For the vendor, you have a reference architecture to develop your solution. You have the standard APIs to be implemented in your solution, and you are sure that then can easily interact with others without any problem. You can have also open source environment in Broadband Forum. We already seen, but we have, for example, OBBAA specifically for SDN-NFV. And then that will help also vendors to rapidly develop their solution. Thanks a lot. That's finalized my presentation.
So we have some time. We have some time, and well, I have some questions. But if anyone else has some questions, please come up to the one of the microphones. I guess from the first one, OLT disaggregation. You know, what's in it for the vendor? Why should they do this? Why should they, support OLT disaggregation?
But according to me, there is also an advantage in the development of their solution. Today, everything is developed in, let me say, in a single hardware that can have limitation. And then when you want to have a new solution, new services, you start, oh, my hardware doesn't support that. I can do redesign the card, redesign a new card, redesign a new control card or whatsoever is needed. If you try to move on this direction, this doesn't mean that you completely avoid this because it's impossible, but you can limit your hardware development probably because part of the software can be deployed in an external server or in the cloud. And then for you will be easier because you don't need to think what you needed in the next 20 years for your hardware.
So you can kind of rapidly respond to market needs,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, time to market is one, but looking from the vendor type
But from the vendor perspective, they can adapt to what their customers need, right?
Yeah.
Faster.
Yeah, for sure.
And then from I have a couple of questions on the artificial intelligence, the automation, I should say. You mentioned that you saw having AIM orchestrators in various domains. And then did you mention something about having like a master orchestrator? Or so how does that work?
Yeah, that's a topic that we are trying to solve now in the second release of the there is already part, this is already managed, and this is typically done by the end-to-end IMO. That is something that will integrate the IMO of integrate the domain IMO. And then you can have a complete end-to-end view about your network by that, or fixed broadband network, obviously.
And this is kind of more of a philosophical question. It probably is more another panel for another day. But, as you get to that last stage, and I think Kurt mentioned it kind of in his, where the human becomes kind of that expert and kind of like with these assistants now, I won't name the names, but, you put in what you want and the generative AI stuff, you get stuff that's pretty convincing. And it would be real easy to fall into the trap that, oh, that's right, but maybe it's not. So how do you prevent those kind of hallucinations?
That's the point that I think that first of all, operator needs to change completely the way of managing the network. You have a lot of technicians with very low level skills, but very useful to put and to resolve problems that you have today. But if part of them are solved by the let me say by an algorithm, an intelligent algorithm, the point is that you need to understand that you are moving in a way that the artificial take a lot of decision, but are they right? You have to take into consideration that any algorithm that based on neural network are based on statistics. There is a high probability that the problem is there, but not 100% sure that is that. That's why you need to move from very expert people that can understand what he decided and to see if there are issues in the decision itself. You need more skilled people, less people, but more skilled people.
Yeah, and then it probably, because you're able to offer new services, maybe respond, you're going to maybe grow the market. So even though, traditionally it's like the horse-drawn carriage, a lot of jobs were destroyed when the horses went away.
Yeah.
So much more was created, right? So,
yep, correct.
Well, Bruno, thank you very much.
You're welcome.